I think a lot of crafts are becoming lost arts. Laser woodcuts or laser wood burnings, or like 3D printed instead of hand carved pieces. And I think something's lost in that. Like, it's more efficient and it's very precise, and some of the work is fantastic that the machines will do. But we as humans need to be working with our hands.
Nothing complicated about it, just same old, same old. We were taught as youngsters to do it well or don't do it at all. Not do it over, do it well. That lesson we've learned. Those of us still doing it can give you a chair you'll be proud of. And I've been doing that now for, last count, I was up to 70 plus years. Because people come in now and ask, what happened? Well, what happened is what happened to every industry. Manufacturing got a kick in the butt, and nobody seemed to care until we were all gone.
I think Lenny does the work that he does. I mean, what he told me was that what else would he do? And I think when you, that's what you did your whole life, and you have the means to continue to do it, and it's part of your value system, part of what you believe in, it just makes sense to show up and continue to make furniture every day. My impression of Lenny is that he's a really solid guy, a really genuine sort of person. You can tell that his work is a big piece of who he is, and that matters to him, and that he's proud of that. I think a lot of furniture workers have something in common where there's down to earth. I mean, I think it's just remarkable that it's been a family company and that Lenny's still showing up to work. I feel like that really epitomizes like what Gardner is and can be if we recognize it, and is like a way to kind of look to the future of what's possible. I met Lenny recently. I had heard a lot about him after moving back to Gardner and starting this project, but we went out to his showroom and his factory to talk about the Gardner Makes series, which is a project that we're working on here, where we're highlighting people who are still making things in Gardner, and factories that are still making things in Gardner. And so Lenny's one of the people that we're showcasing this year, Chair City Wayside, for the Gardner Makes series.
I'm the second generation of the founder, Ralph Curcio. Next door in the factory is David Lettinen, and he is the second generation of my father's partner. Well, the role that David and I are filling right now is there is a place in Gardner that's still making furniture. You could come in here and see it being done. I'm sitting here doing seat weaving for you to watch. And you know that the final point of the chair is the seating, and that's where the strength is. We want to give the city, the world, a reason to call it Chair City of the World. So we're last holdouts.
Yeah, the moniker was Chair City of the World, especially in the 1920s. And their chairs were sent all over the world.
I would venture a guess that in the 1920s, there were probably 30 or more furniture factories in town.
Time has done a job on me. I'm arthritic, I've had shingles, I've got cancer removals, I'm diabetic. Outside of that, I'm perfect. But the legacy is that we lasted 75 years making something that everybody wanted during that period. Now it doesn't fit the new mode of furniture designs as I see it, which is all turned modern and modular furniture, and something not necessarily made of wood.
I think the furniture industry in Gardner declined little by little partly because people weren't noticing that it was declining, and when they did, it was too late. Furniture, I don't think furniture is that important to Gardner anymore. I don't know what to say about that. I just don't think people care about the past of Gardner.
I think there's also a lot of pride in people here and the work they did and the product they produced. And that, I think, ends up translating when there's no more product to make to a kind of deep loss and a sadness and confusion about, you know, who am I if I'm not a furniture worker anymore? What are we if we're not Chair City? I think, you know, different people deal with that different ways, but I think it can feel like a big sadness for the community. I care about furniture. I think the biggest reason is because my dad worked in furniture, so my family's always been involved. My mom worked in furniture a little bit as well. And so I just got to see it and be a part of it in different ways throughout my childhood and adulthood. That's, I think, what got me into it. And then the more that I am in Gardner and the more I'm working in the Chair City Community Workshop, just getting to hear all the different stories that people have and how important it was to people, how much pride they had in the furniture really, takes it beyond just my family and makes it feel really like an important piece of who Gardner is and what the community is about.
Gardner has a story, you can see it throughout the entire town. You see the hints of the furniture industry throughout, and nobody's a lot of the factories are gone now, but nobody's forgotten. There's that shared heritage, there's that shared history, and it permeates the entire culture of the town, and you can tell just by walking through it.
The Gardner Makes series is an ongoing series that we work on each summer here in the Chair City Community Workshop. Well, most of what we do here is sort of set up to echo the craftsmanship in furniture.
I think you should talk a little bit about the sense of community that you're trying to emulate too. I think that's
Oh, yeah,
important.
yeah. So a big piece of it, when I was interviewing people, one of the things they missed the most after the factories closed was the social atmosphere of the factory. And people would spend their lives there, straight from high school until retirement. And so the people that you worked alongside were the main people that you got to know and got to care about. And then all of a sudden that's gone when the factory closes and there's no easy way to recreate it. And so that was a big inspiration for this space, is having it be a space where people can come together to work collaboratively and get to have that feeling. We spend most of the time looking at the past and looking at furniture manufacturing, but there's still a lot of manufacturing going on in Gardner, and so this was a way to kind of connect the past to the present. And it's really exciting to be working on Lenny's this year because it ties into the furniture. It takes the furniture out of the past and puts it into the present. And it's just special to be able to showcase someone that's still making furniture and kind of push against this idea that there's no furniture in Chair City anymore. So we do woodcuts, large-scale woodcuts. They're about 3 foot by 3 foot, and we carve them by hand. Volunteers do all of the work, and we showcase 3 manufacturers each summer. First, we take an image that we want to use. So in this case, Paul had gone in to visit Lenny and took some photos, and so we blew up the photo that we liked and printed it out in reverse, and then you trace it onto the piece of wood, so it's actually a real piece of wood, and then from there make artistic decisions about what should be a dark tone, what should be a light tone, what should be a mid-tone, what do you want to have come forward the most in the portrait or in the woodcut, what should stand out, and then start carving. And so the artist working on it, the volunteer working on it decides what tool to use, and what mark it makes, and sort of tries to match that with the texture of the chair or someone's skin on their hands or their hair. I really like wood carving, in part because it's wood, so you automatically feel that connection to wood and touching wood and handling wood. It's a really nice material to work with. I also like that it's sort of a repetitive activity. So you're making little chips out of it over and over and over again, and then those little chips, you repeating yourself, comes out to be this like beautiful image and this thing that has meaning and makes sense to people. I also like that these are big enough that a couple people can work on a woodcut together, and so we take everything else off the table, have the woodcuts, and folks sit around carving, and sometimes it's totally silent and you can tell everyone's really into the work, and sometimes it's like people cutting up and having a good time, reminiscing or talking about, problem solving with each other too, about, oh, I don't know how to handle this part of the image, what would you do? Everyone comes over and looks, and it's just a neat way to work alongside people. Then on the day we go to print it, we roll ink up using a brayer, roll ink all over the surface of the woodcut, and then wherever we've cut away, ink doesn't hit, so that part stays white. And then you put paper on it and apply pressure, so you can do that different ways. Some people use a letterpress. You can actually use like a spoon as a brayer, but what we do is bring it out on the street and get a steamroller to come and roll over it. And so that acts as the press, and it creates the pressure, so that allows the paper to pull the ink up off of the surface of the woodcut, and that you have your image. But it does feel special to be working with your hands on something that's about someone who worked with their hands, and to be putting, tons of hours go into making these, so to think about that as a physical way that we honor someone is really meaningful.
When I saw the picture, like, I knew immediately that it was the one I wanted to work on. I saw it and I was just like, that's it. That's what I'm working on. Because I recognize the expression. I recognize this moment in myself as an artist. Like, I know what this state is. He's in that flow state and he's working, and this photo really captures that. Like, I've never met the man, but I feel like on some level we'd understand each other in that sense. Tracy has taken some pictures of us, like, while we're working on them. And the first one that she took, I'm leaning over the piece and working on it, and you can see the outline of his face, and he's looking over his work, and we have the same exact expression.
Well, it's a huge historical factor, the continuity, the pride of the Chair City continuing. It's just wonderful.
David and I both loved this product and we want it to keep going. So we'll continue as long as we can. Unless anybody that wants the product more than 2 years from now, better check the mortuaries. Because I at 89 don't plan to be here forever. I have been already.